All right, hello. I've been sitting with the thing on for long enough to get all the decks and other things. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. I'm a little tired, but I feel like I'm always tired lately, honestly. And I feel like I kind of know why. Anyway, I watched, as at least one of you knows. I was like, "Oh snap, you found me!" I watched Benabo Wynn's video about. I guess someone made a TikTok on like 6 signs on how to spot a false reader or something like that. And she made a video, and she talked about. It was a perspective. Hey, Kirsty, how you doing? I was kind of hoping I'd see you today. Um, it was interesting because she's had a perspective where I guess she's been exposed to like 3 generations of readers. Um, or she's been not only doing it, but also like a part of conversations or like listening to conversations for long enough to see like pendulum swing from one side to the other for there to be a resurgence of one practice within the field. And I'm just some guy. Um, I don't even remember why I brought that up. Oh, because she mentioned too. Um, she was like, 25 years ago when I was part of the new wave of readers on the scene, or the younger crowd, like we were moving things in this direction and pushing against butting heads with the old guard and stuff like that. And it made me think of, was it last time or the time before when I was live? And I was like, since I've started work, there have been things that we've been running, but I've been told like we don't do this that often. It's like it's very rare that we run this, or it's very like seldom that we do this. But I'm like, well, I've been here for 3 weeks now, and we've been doing it for the majority of the time. But that's 3 weeks out of how much? All of my time. So it just like it was that relativity or whatever. Um, I'm glad to hear it. I am. I'm a little tired, but well, I feel like I've been making questionable decisions. Um, I've been making questionable adult decisions. That's like I can stay up for 2 more hours and just suffer through being miserable tomorrow, or tired, or knowing I should go to bed. But anyway, um, so yeah, that was interesting. And again, like I said, that it came up recently, and I mentioned it. How, yeah, you know, I mean, I guess there are. Well, I was going to say, I guess there are bigger adulting decisions to make, but yeah, no one's here to force me to go to bed at a decent enough time to not be tired and miserable all day. Um, excuse me, I think also naps are cool. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he was like, when I'm not working, I take naps. And I might be right there with them. I'll doze on the couch. And I guess it's like yesterday, I went to the gym with my mom, and I texted her at like 12 something. And then she didn't show up until like 1 something because she had stuff to do. And then I'm like falling asleep on the love seat, not even on the couch. I'm trying to make myself semi uncomfortable so I can like close my eyes, but not so comfortable that like I'll go to sleep, like I'll fall asleep and then just be out. Um, but yeah, I told Google to text her and send it. And then I just opened my eyes and I saw that I had missed a text from her from like 6 minutes prior. That was like, I'm here. I was like, oh. Ooh. And there's been a few times I've dozed on that couch, which is again, it's a non-issue. It's a great space to be in. Excuse me. But yeah, so she talked about that, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," because here that is again, but it's in a different arena, and it's told from a perspective. Hey, Holly, how you doing? It's told from a perspective that I don't have because I haven't. Like, there are some shifts that I've seen in the few years that I've been here. Naps in the night. We're out on our bikes. Okay, yeah. I feel like if I was like doing something, then that'd be different. But also, I'm just like a tired individual. But I think that's because I've lived quite a few years of deciding to sacrifice sleep for more hours on Netflix, Crunchyroll, YouTube, a video game. And coffee doesn't work for me. Caffeine does nothing for me. So, energy drinks don't. Excuse me. I thought like 2 weeks ago that maybe I was wrong and maybe my body had changed because I drank one. And then I was like, oh. And then, like, 15 minutes later, I'm yawning again. So, anyway, yeah, it depends. Anyway, so that came up again. Um, and then there was something else. Oh, I thought about how lately, not lately, well, yeah, kind of sort of lately, because life has, so like I said, neighbors. Is that my mama? I think that was her. I texted her hours ago. That is. Not today. Yay! I didn't want to go in either. Oh no. Bummer. I took like 2 weeks, like a week and a half. We'll say 2 weeks. I took 2 weeks. I have been going consistently for months. I took 2 weeks off because I would be moving things, and I don't want to be moving stuff and then going to the gym on top of that, girl, because I was also working. Um, and now I'm like, I'm just off the ball. I don't feel like ever going. But when I'm there, then it's fine. So yeah, I'll get back to my 5 to 6 days a week. Um, so anyway, I was also thinking about how, because I'm neighbors with the owner of the metaphysical store here in town, the one that opened up almost a year ago. It'll be a year in a few weeks, and he made some pierogies. He was like, "I'm hungry, and I'm gonna make corn dogs." And I was like, I thought I smelled corn dogs earlier, so my psychic nose is telling me to tell you to make those corn dogs. And he's like, I don't have corn dogs, but I got pierogies. And I was like, it is 10 o'clock at night. I was about to go to sleep, but I will make the journey for pierogies. So if y'all don't know, my night vision is not great at all. It's very poor compared. It's extremely poor compared to most people. But I was like, for pierogies, and because just not just for the pierogies, but he's a friend and he could use a little friendly company. You know, when things go on in life and when it's nice to have somebody there, and he had pierogies. So I was like, I will make the trek in the middle of the night. I ended up coming back at like midnight. I took a wrong turn, and like I said, my night vision is poor, so I have my cell phone light. I mean, it's literally one of these. Like, I go out of my entrance exit, I walk down the road like a minute, and I go into that entrance exit, and then it's a doop doop doop, and it's right there. So it's not far at all. Um, excuse me. Um, have to trick you by asking you to lay down with your little sister. Yeah, I've been seeing it was like the post on social media that was like, oh, why couldn't I appreciate naps when I was younger? Um, but anyway, just to like to have a friend, I guess, to go and see and like eat pierogies with and to just like, be there. It was cool. And I was just thinking about how it's been unfolding since about a year ago, since like last September. It's been unfolding how I don't have to leave home to find a lot of the things that I'm looking for. And lately, it's been like, because there are things that I want and things that I desire that aren't necessarily like super common that I've experienced. I haven't necessarily like met a lot of people who are like into like the same video games and anime and other stuff that I'm into. Turns out like everybody that I work with is into anime, which is really cool. And by everybody I work with, I mean like the people that I see while I'm training that I may never see after I'm on my shift, which is fine. um, but yeah, it's like I'm finding people with common interests, and there are things, like I said, that I want in life that I didn't know if I would necessarily find. I had an idea that it would be difficult to find. Turns out, of course, like that's not necessarily the case. And I was like, oh, well, look at that. So, excuse me. And it just like I happened to find those things out because I made the decision to go into the store and be a little brave and not be like, oh, but like blah 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 and other choices like going to the psychic fair and reading for people, which I might be. If I do it again, and I probably will, there's a very, very high chance and likelihood that I'll be participating in the next one. There's an extremely high chance that there's basically a 99.9% chance that I'll be participating in the next one. I do want to definitely be able to stick to that 10 minutes though, because, ooh, I was never like half an hour, which is fine. It is what it's meant to be. I always believe so. I've also gotten Diablo 4 recently, and I've started to play that. I was going to use the Diablo Tarot with the Occult Tarot, the Angel Tarot, and then maybe the some other like Angel and Demon Tarot decks that I have. But then I saw the Wild Unknown Alchemy when I was looking for those decks. And I was like, I have been talking about alchemy a lot, or the theme of alchemy has been coming up a lot. So I'm shuffling up the Wild Unknown Archetypes, and the Wild Unknown Alchemy, and then I'm going to use the Science Tarot. I just pulled out the Science Tarot because it was in the way, and I said, I have a few other cards down here. But I was like, oh, science, alchemy. Duh, I get it. It makes sense. So I'm also going to use that deck. And I was thinking about how like the Wildfires card kept coming out in the Wild. Now, I'm not the type of person that's necessarily going to be like, I keep seeing this Wildfires card in this tarot deck. So, expect for some things to get a little crispy. But I did have the thought as I pulled the deck out, I was like, wow, I kept seeing that. And I don't want to say it's because of the fires in Canada that created the atmospheric conditions that, I don't, like I said, like it could just be that season. But we ain't had a storm that bad in a long time. If like ever. Like there are some people that were without power for like 5 days to a week. Most people didn't have power for at least 3 to 4. Trees were down all over town, like blocking roads. It was madness. But by the time I got off work, the path to my place was made clear and power was restored here within hours. Um, so fortunately, I didn't have to myself. I don't even know. Like y'all, like I say all the time, I'm a millennial. Like, yeah, it was wild. But because of that, it seemed like the air quality improved. Um, and then it was like pretty sort of rainy consistently. Now they were saying that we were going to get a second wave the next day. That didn't happen, thankfully. But it was, I guess, some kind of wild temperance in order to counteract all the smoke and fire. We're going to send wind and rain, but take up all the trees. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I just had visitors. And I was giving because my aunt was here, I was just giving her a hard time. I was joking. I was just playing. But yeah. And it was nice to be able to, because like I had literally moved out, 2 weeks before that happened. My parents didn't get power until I think like Sunday evening. And it went out Thursday, so it wasn't too long for them. My grandma didn't get power until Monday or Tuesday, I think. So it was like 4 to 5 to maybe 6 days for her because I can't remember if she had it before the 4th. Yeah, I think she did. I think she had it by the 4th, so it would have been that Monday. Um, but yeah, I guess it was nice to know that. I guess it was nice to be able to be there in some capacity for my family, even though, I moved out and everything. So, anyway, we'll see how it all unfolds. Something about this move felt important. I mean, for reasons that I know and for things that I'm moving forward in my own life and for what I wish for and desire, but also, I guess, in ways that I don't even know, like that. So, who knows? You just keep going in life. So, how am I going to do this? I'm going to do alchemy, archetype, and then science, maybe. But yeah, since I've been talking about alchemy so much in not the best of ways, I decided to go ahead and use this. And then maybe I'll use the Diablo later. I don't know. Do 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 do. Life is crazy. Do 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 do. Life is wild. Do 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 do. Apparently, we're using the archetypes first. Ooh, the archetype of the temple, which is number 39. We have the crone 13 and the healer 14. No, 25. 13 and 25. Oh, and the creator 22. I didn't even notice that. The creator was behind the healer. The crone, the creator, and the healer. We have 3 archetypes of person that came out all together with an archetype of place. Eve, you found me. I was busted. How are you doing? The crone, the healer, and the creator. All in the temple. See, the crone, the healer, and the creator in the temple makes me think of, honestly, it makes me think of like Jesus healing. There was that woman who was like, if I can but touch the hem of his garment. It's just like the healer in the temple. The healer is healing the crone in the temple. and the creator is present. Um, I pick a card with the archetypes. Oh snap! When does it go live? If you don't mind me asking. Gosh, I'm too tired for this. When are you doing the paint chips again? I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing, you know. I've been for the past few weeks. I've been unable to complain. I mean, even still, I can't complain. I feel like if I were to complain, then yeah. I mean, things in my life are going pretty well, and that's not necessarily the case everywhere. So I'm doing well. There was a moment Friday, like we're transitioning, like we're concluding training while also at the same time transitioning to like taking care of everything by ourselves because apparently it seems that they hire in pairs. And so I've been working with my partner, and it's nice to have somebody to split everything with. But now they're like trying to have us separate like duties basically to get an idea. And I'm like, this is a lot. This is a lot. Like it's not a lot consistently. And it wasn't like I was forgetful Friday. And so it was my fault that I had to like do things the difficult way. Honestly, it wouldn't have been that bad. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to sit down. And then I got to sit down. So it was fine. But yeah. Hey, Steph. Sorry, is it are you still with your granddaughter? You were talking about storms that you got down there. Then we got hit with storms up here. Trees were down all over town. One of my coworkers said it took her an hour and a half to get home because everything was queued up. She was like, I was in like standstill traffic for like half an hour. And then I turned off onto one street. It was blocked by a tree. And it was like, no matter which street she turned down, there was a tree overturned blocking the road. She said she drove under a tree at one point that had like caught on a power line or something. I was like, oh my gosh. And that, yeah, the reason why it was queued up so bad is because there was a tree that people had to take turns driving around because it, yeah, anyway. The red light, green light, yellow light. If you're in the UK, that's the thing I found out about the UK last time is that the light goes red and yellow before it goes green. It goes green, yellow, red, red, yellow, green. And red, yellow is basically, I guess red, yellow is the yellow for greens, like yellow is the yellow for reds. It's like you can go, but like still, be mindful. People may be finishing turns or whatever, but it's basically a green light, but it's not a green light. It's a red, yellow. And I'm like, what? So the past few times I was here, I never noticed that, or they weren't doing it. The Amber Gambler. I was like, okay. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Well, we'll hope for the day that there's good internet. That's one thing I need. I don't need good internet, but like I said, I'm glad I didn't have to um, wonder. I'm glad I didn't have to experience what I would have done for that many days without power. So, the Chrome, the Healer, and the Creator in the temple. I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna. Okay, fine. I'm not gonna put it back. I'm just gonna pull some cards real quick. I'll go through from whatever comes out, comes out. Because I'm like, what is this? Where are we going with this? Because at first it was like, oh, the crone is the healer. And then it was like the crone is being healed in the temple and the creator is also present. What? I am so confused. Like in real life. And I'm looking through the glass where the light bends at the cracks. Ooh, summer. That's the season that we're in right now. And we're screaming at the top of our lungs. Ooh, look at the interesting color sort of synchronicities between the two of these. Pretending the echoes belong to someone. Do, 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 do. Someone I used to know. I'll put these back in the order they came out in. Glass in the temple is interesting. Maybe it gives us, because the divine is ever present no matter where we go. This creator energy doesn't like, it's not like when you're not in the temple, then it can't see you. Maybe we can better relate or better see to the divine when fixing a sinkhole. Maybe we can better relate to the divine or better see the divine when we're in the temple, but the divine is always present. Oh, gosh. She did. So an IOU may be left. Oh, gosh. It's like, yeah, we're buying teeth in the twos and threes now, so you need more than just one. And if you don't hold on to it and put it under your pillow, then you know, did you really lose it? Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Next month. Oh wait, are you moving in a month, or is she leaving in a month? 6-year-old leaving for okay, gotcha. So wait, are you leaving for okay in a month, or is the 6-year-old just going to okay in a month? Okay. Let's go to the science tarot. The science tarot that is surprisingly, I don't know. I don't know how to. Like, I guess I'm not surprised, but I am. What is this? Who did you say is obsessed with the moon lately? Your granddaughter? She has a fascination with the moon. Well, there's the moon. Where are my glasses? My glasses. Ooh. Well, I hope that it goes well for you. And I hope you like it there. And everything works out and you get an internet connection where it doesn't buffer during the lives. If that is something that you desire. And from what you said, I believe it to be so. Oh, this is the Two of Wands. I thought this was a major arcana. I'm like, what is this? What? The card that came out is a star nursery. And so now I'm like, what? What? See, I didn't expect this stuff like this from the science tarot. I don't know what I expected. Not this. And then behind the moon is the sun. The moon, chemical spirits, the sun, duality of light. Behind the sun and the moon is the cocoon, the Eight of Cups. And behind that is phase transition, death. And behind the phase transition is the grand unified theory, the world. So we have the cocoon, transformation, and then the world under the sun and moon that came out with the star nursery. This is why I should have put the cards back in. I'm like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Where's my science tarot book? I'm reading books today. Because this star nursery is really intriguing to me. Well, I guess a star nursery would be because it's what there are like gases or whatever. There are compounds that are present in certain amounts, and then things happen, and then a star is born. Oh, look, there's also a moon in the cocoon and a sun in the death card. Sun was in the death card in the after tarot. So we get this moon, sun, grand unified theory. I'm like, bro, what is this? Where are we going with this? What is happening? Where the light bends at the cracks. And what's interesting about this cocoon in particular, it's like if you didn't know better, you just think it were another leaf. Oh, snap. Well, I hope it a gorgeous and beautiful new beginning for you. So, snap. So there'll be more room too. Hey, I'm hungry. I was gonna eat popcorn, but I didn't want my fingers to get buttery. So I didn't. Summer feels like a time of full maturity. I know that like the harvest happens in the fall, but it's like, it's like the peak is summer. And there's something about the glass that allows us to see something more. It allows us to see something deeper. And it's almost like in witnessing the healing taking place in the temple, my brain goes to like, we see because the creator has this like brush, right? It's like we see the genius of creation and we learn something about the creator. Summer is also 18. The moon is 18. Um, and that was at the bottom of the deck. Summer is at the bottom of the deck. Um, Zoe and Chloe. I don't. It's like it. There's something. This is beyond me. So it's looking like in the temple. And at first, I didn't even see the creator. It wasn't until I separated the crone from the healer that I noticed that under the healer was the creator. And so it's like, the crone holds some blues, but not really much color here. And then there are these like pinks and purpley reds. There's this like sunset here, sunrise, sunset. And then in the creator, we see like all of these colors, right? Now we see our sunrise, sunset on this side. We see it like merging into merging into the crone down here. So like the blues and stuff from the crone. Like we see like basically like this much ish of it. But what's missing is like these greens over here and the blue. But that's where that's where this temple is. So the temple, excuse me, moves us over here into the greens and blues. And since the crone is sort of pulling us over here from this like sunset over into this blue, it's like in the temple, one day, maybe mysteriously for some reason, the entirety of this picture comes together and like that's the glass. The glass is the aligning of these situations or circumstances in a way where it's like the whole picture is seen. And that is the star nursery. Because star nursery, again, it's like where all of those come together in the right mixture, and then some cosmic explosion happens, and that explosion is a star. And I was streaming Into the Gungeon, right? And I had just bought, it's like the ancient gun or whatever. I don't remember what it is, but it's the T-Rex skull that spits out oil. And then when you reload it, like there's this spark and it ignites all the oil. That's how I ended up ending my run when I played the robot, which I guess is interesting because there's like fossil fuels. Anyway, why did I bring that up? Because it was old, because it was ancient. Maybe that was it. Oh, no, because of the ignition. That's why. Because like all of the components are being gathered together, and then it's that ignition that creates the self-generating reaction. Or it's almost like a perpetual-ish motion machine, but there has to be emotion. There has to be something to set it into motion. See you, Steph. I saw I saw Eve say bye, Steph, before I saw Steph say bye. Eve's breaking the laws of time, as observed from this point. All the best with everything. I hope a new, successful, happy, bright, a lot less buffery time for you. And I love that there's more space that your daughter's getting to. So it's almost like there's been a lot of the things being gathered here. It's almost like everything has been gathered in the temple, but it's been missing that source of ignition to actually birth the star. Maybe that's what the sun is after this moon card. Because, like, we see the presence of all of these chemical spirits around. It's like sperms around an egg. And then there is the meeting of the sperm and the egg. That meeting would be like the ignition. And then through some internal process, some phase transition. Are there planets on this? I see H2O. I see what I think is H2O up here. I see what's almost like, girl, I don't know what all this stuff is. Let me stop. What's that thing in her right hand? It's a test tube in the left hand. I don't know what that is. Yeah, then eventually at one point everything clicks in, boom. Goodness. You're in a new dimension. Is this what I'm trying to read right now? That's like, wait, what is happening? I guess I still do want to read Star Nursery, even though I feel like that was it. Pentacles, Wands. Star Nursery. Clouds of stardust gather material over time, growing dense and building in gravity. The energy of a young protostar increases and its mass rotates as the atoms draw together. Will the body that forms become a star or remain an unformed cloud in space? Both possibilities seem likely. This marks an ambiguous moment. A path offers itself, diverging in a new direction, but is it the right direction for you? Moving forward in full awareness requires a moment of consideration. Only when the sacrifices and transformations demanded by the journey are fully understood and for a moment rejected does the full meaning and gravity of the choice become clear. Life on this new path will never be the same again, yet life on the old path may be no life at all. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. See, this is why we don't start with the archetypes. Excuse me. Cooking the old path in the no cards, please. Just trying to get a little shuffle. Thank you. So the Science Tarot has been reshuffled. Now let's the gem in the box. Excuse me. I slid the cards to assemble these, and the gem was left behind. It's getting easier to shuffle this round deck over the years of having it. Ooh, the father. Ronald Weasley, how dare you steal that car? Oh, no flippers. The Mentor in the Ring, number 6 and number 57. Came out. If this means something to you, pause it, reflect. Because we're not. No. And they'll come back out if they're meant to. Cards have a way of doing that. I'm just trying to get these shuffled. Oh, there's the Mentor looking at me again. Oh, stop. I just saw the mountain flip over with like 5 cards. Okay. Last one. Oh. Who is it? The Womb? No, it's the King. The King and the Gem. It's fine. It is. There we go. Now, the alchemy, please. Maybe I am doing this backwards. Because maybe I'll do science, archetype. Oh, it's already been 40. It's already been 48 minutes. No. I was like, maybe I'll do science, archetype, alchemy. You know what? I have all these shuffled. I'm just going to pull off the tops. And we'll see that way. All right. That's 3. 2. I was able to flip it back over. So it was a card I haven't seen before either, which is maybe I should have taken it. It's too late. 1. All right. First alchemy is Uranus, Oranos, which is number 8. And it's got this stained glass sort of look. Are we reading? We're going to read Uranus. We're going to see if anything jumps out. Leaps and bounds. Uranus, awakening brilliance, individualism. When Uranus strikes, we are in for a surprise, not in the outer world, but in ourselves. Ooh. I can rest my elbow and you can still see the card. What wasn't possible before? Ooh, okay, I'm loving this. All right. What wasn't possible before is possible now, thanks to Uranus and its ability to shatter our preconceptions, not even our perceptions, our preconceptions. This shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. For an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long awaited aha moment or a sudden stroke of genius. Inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. Like, I completely missed that. So it's like this card may also appear to show us, or to show or another. I was like, what? To show or another? To show another or another? Oranos or another? Seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. The alchemist knows this radical energy isn't sustainable, and so the work is to show up each day, whether or not Uranus strikes. I've heard idiosyncrasy. I feel like in context, I know what it means, but I would love a definition from, hey, Google, define idiosyncratic.
Here's the definition of idiosyncratic: relating to idiosyncrasy, peculiar or individual.
Relating to idiosyncrasy, peculiar or individual. Hey Google, define idiosyncrasy.
Here's the definition of idiosyncrasy: a mode of behavior or way of thought peculiar to an individual.
Okay. An abnormal physical reaction by an individual to a food or drug. Thought peculiar to an individual. I feel like I don't understand. Like I do, but is it peculiar to an individual? Like I find that peculiar to me, or is it a peculiarity related to me? Like, am I peculiar in that way? So it's one of my idiosyncrasies, or is it something that's like peculiar to me? So I'm like, see, I feel like it's that first way. Is that in the second? I think I've seen the first one. I haven't seen. I don't know who Andromeda is, but I'm not a big Marvel person either. So I'm not a really big superhero person in general, which is kind of. I feel like that would be idiosyncratic of me to not be like super into superheroes, because I love the energy of like a superhero and I'm very much so about that, but I'm not into it. That is weird. Peculiar to that individual. See, but like I'm reading that and I'm like, I don't, because it's like, it's the two that's throwing me off. Because there's something to a person where it is like it is about that person. It is a quality that that person holds. But then there's also to that person in like in the way that that person perceives other people. You know what I mean? Like that is strange to me. Like I find that strange about something or someone else. But then there's also like there's a strange thing about me. So someone else would be like, oh, like to them. You know what I mean? Is that making sense? So is it a quality held by the individual or is it a perception held by the individual? That's my question. Who holds the peculiarity? Is it the individual or is it somebody else? A quirk particular to you. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Because, like, based on the definition and, like, the examples, like, that's where my brain, like I could tell I was being guided in that direction, but then it was still, like, kind of gray. You know what I mean? Like, because what's peculiar to me might be normal for everybody else. You know what I mean? So yeah, we got there. Like I knew that that's where it was going, but it was just like it was catching me. Maybe that's part of the. Maybe that's part of the read. Maybe that's part of the energy of Uranus. Because Uranus is like, yeah, this is peculiar to you, but you're peculiar to me. Where I come from, this is the norm. So I don't know what you're talking about. All right, Uranus, as we're talking about stars being born I mean, of course, Uranus is here to shake it up, to do it different. And Marie Curie was under the unified theory, the grand unified theory, the world. And hers was visionary. Her tagline, she's the visionary of her suit. I think they have visionaries in the suits. Let me see. The explorer, the innovator, the storyteller, and the visionary. So she's not the visionary of swords because the visionary of swords is Charles Darwin. So there was a visionary there. Visionary being let your quirk. It's you want to know what's also additionally another hilarious twist on all of this. As I'm talking about not knowing about Andromeda from Guardians of the Galaxy because I'm not huge into Marvel or superheroes, but it's weird because like I'm very much so about the energy of like superheroes and like origins and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's not that I hate them, but I'm just like I feel like I'm not as into them as I could be or should be. Just like how I love high fantasy, but I'm not into Game of Thrones. Like I haven't watched it. And it's weird for me because I love dragons and I love all of that, but I haven't watched Game of Thrones. But the interesting part on that is that in the anime, My Hero Academy or Boku no Hero Academia or whatever, BNHA, they're superheroes, but their powers are called quirks. And you said, let your quirk free. And when you capitalize quirk, it made me think of that anime where it's basically superhero school. There are kids with, it's like X-Men, like the Academy. From what I know of X-Men, I've seen a few X-Men movies. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's why I was like, oh, that's interesting because they have their powers are called quirks and they're superheroes, but I'm like, I don't really like superheroes. Anyway, back to this. So the archetype of Uranus is you love Game of Thrones, but sus of most high fantasy. Girl, guess what the archetype is? It's the riddle. The archetype coming out with the alchemical planetary nature of Uranus is the riddle. And here am I like, well, who is it? Who is it peculiar to? Is it a peculiarity about me, or is it peculiar to you? But I guess it's like all of this loop de loop is like it doesn't matter because they're the same thing. They're literally the same thing. If it's something peculiar about me, then it's something that other people find peculiar about me. You know what I mean? I guess it was like, who's finding what to be peculiar here was my question. Anyway, it's like the riddle. Are we going to read the riddle? Sure, because I'm reading books today. The riddle is number 53. 53, 5 plus 3 equals 8. It's also interesting. 5 plus 3 is 8, yes. But a V5 plus 3 makes it an 8. Whereas the L50, because it's 50, there's a 0 there. But 50, 5 plus 0 is 0, so it's another 5. The L5, anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm digging too. That's the thing about riddles. You start overthinking everything, and then everything is a lot deeper than it may or may not be. One second. Yeah, it's the riddle. I'm like, okay, well. Oh, here we go. Is that not today? I mean, I guess so. There is an energy of like that whole idiosyncrasy was a little bit of riddly to me. Oh, and also the riddle, the riddler. Hold up, wait. Was it on a card? I've seen something with a bunch of question marks on it. I don't know if it was on one of these science tarot cards, but it makes me think of the Riddler from Batman. And the Riddler is one of those like you don't see the Riddler everywhere. Just like I don't know if you necessarily see like the Penguin everywhere. But of course, like the Joker you see everywhere because without if there's a Batman, there has to be a Joker. And if there's a Joker, then there's a Harley Quinn. So the Harley Quinn is there with the Joker because Joker and Batman. Uh, and I don't follow Batman or play Batman. I know enough of Batman to know like Penguin, the Riddler, and like when I was growing up, maybe I had like a Riddler. I feel like I had something with a bunch of question marks on it, and it was green, and the question marks were purple, so it was the Riddler. Um, I don't know the Riddler story or anything like that. I just know that like I'll see Batman a lot and like Mr. Freeze. That's his name, right? Mr. Freeze. I feel like he'll pop up often. Like every time you see Batman, you'll see him and the Joker. And I can't remember if there's like another staple villain that you always see. Kingpin, maybe. Is Kingpin Batman or is that Daredevil? But the Riddler is one where I'll kind of almost like always look for the Riddler because he's one of the ones that I know, but I don't see him often. Anyway, the riddle is here. Sphinxes were a part of, have been coming up. 53, that's 48. 5, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's 54. The riddle. One second. I'm texting my mother. The riddle, the puzzle, the question, the mystery. It's also interesting that the riddle is here because the maze came out with the gym. It was the maze or the box. The box and the gym. The box looked like a maze. I saw a maze. I saw there was a post. It was like this is what it was like maybe it was like trying to get maybe somebody posted a meme about the truth because when I was listening to my coworker talk about how it took her an hour and a half to get home because every time she made a turn there was a street that was blocked by a downed tree. I was like, oh, that's like a maze. And then I saw something earlier today before this that had the maze and the puzzler. um, oh, I would want that. I would want that dresser and then get irritated when I'm rushing in for work and I can't solve the riddle because I only had 3 hours of sleep and I'm on the verge of tears because I don't want to be late because I'm still in a probationary period. And why did I get this dresser? Anyway. Yeah, but the box makes me think of the riddle. Oh, a thousand-piece monster. It's interesting that you mentioned that. So I used to have this recurring nightmare, and there was my dad had. I didn't watch Chucky, but there was that one Goosebumps. I think it was a few books in Goosebumps with the ventriloquist dummy, and I saw the ventriloquist dummy episode of Goosebumps when they animated, or it wasn't animated, but when they made like a live show of some of the books, and it was like a series for children. Why was R.L. Stein literally writing nightmare fuel for children, marketed to children? I don't know. But there are kids who like to be scared, just like there are adults who enjoy horror. I'm not one of those people, or at least I didn't used to be. But anyway, I had a fear of ventriloquist dummies, and they look creepy enough. And my dad used to have one upstairs. Like there was one room, and then there was another room, and then there was a door that separated them. And above the door was that ventriloquist dummy. Um, so I used to have a recurring nightmare, and there was a ventriloquist dummy, and I had to like assemble the dummy to disarm it, and it held my loved ones hostage. And every time I would have that nightmare, it would be more and more complex to like put back together. So anyway, there you go. When the riddle is present, one must stop searching for the right answer. Ooh, hold up, wait. I'm intrigued. When the riddle is present, one must stop searching for the right answer, in quotations. It cannot be found, and ultimately, it is not important. Rather, there must be a shift from the literal to the metaphorical, from logic to mythic. You are thinking too small and literally about the situation. The riddle card appears when the energy is deep and mysterious, like the elusive wisdom in a Zen koan. Focusing harder won't do it. Neither will increased effort. Time, surrender, and humor are your only allies. What feels like the most pressing dilemma won't reveal its deeper wisdom for a long time. Eventually, you'll learn a profound lesson from the riddle. For now, get comfortable with the limitations of your intellect and the reality of not knowing. It may, in fact, be the only reality there is. Oh, I did. That dream was crazy. Yeah, it it was a recurring nightmare. I don't know. I would solve the puzzle. I would be stressed AF and solve it every time in the dream, and I don't remember what happened after that, or if I would just wake up. Anyway. So let's see what the Science Tarot has to offer. It is the Explorer of Swords, Robert Hooke. This is literally, I'm conflicted. Because I feel like this is what the riddle makes us do. It's the Explorer of Swords, swords relating to thoughts in the mind. It gets us to think and to move in more illogical ways. And it's like, so we're exactly where the riddle wants us to be. Or we're taking the correct approach. Because again, logic applied to most riddles doesn't help. Because if it were a logical, if the riddle was based upon logic, it'd be a question. It wouldn't be a riddle. You know what I mean? Like that's the subtle difference between what is a question and what is a riddle. A question more often relies upon logic and the concrete less, I want to say like abstract. Wait, is that the word that was coming to my mind? Was it the right word? Now the riddle has my brain messed up. Ever since idiosyncrasy ever since idiosyncrasy came in my mind, even before that, these cards have just been jumbling my brain today. With the whole crone healer creator in the temple, I'm like, I wasn't prepared for this. I don't know what I prepare for. I don't really have much of a preparation when I sit down and do these. I don't really have much of an expectation of where things will go. Like there are things that I live my life, and there's a context that'll come out in the cards that color them, and then I'll assemble whatever, like these broken pieces of glass in Uranus. Um, but I don't necessarily sit down and think, well, sometimes it's like, and I'll talk about it at the beginning of the video. This is what I've been seeing, and it's related to something that came out in a reading or blah, blah, blah. But when I pull cards, I don't expect to just be like, like I didn't expect to see the Chrome, the healer, and the creator today in the temple. I didn't have an expectation, but it'd be nice if it were just. Maybe that's why I like the. Maybe that's why I've been loving the like aspect challenge advice, because it feels a lot of times narrow enough to not have me out here just floating in the middle of whatever. Ah, goodness. I'm taking all the title cards out of decks now. I'm kidding. So anyway, it's like if logic and stuff would get us there, it'd be a question, it wouldn't be a riddle. And then we have an explorer of the mind, and the explorer is a page. And again, I love the page for this in particular because it is new, it is fresh. Let's read the Robert Hooke. Oh. So the Explorer of Swords. The world is alive with fascinating detail, and Robert Hooke's microscope invited him to observe and understand every minute cell within it. Hooke was the first to apply the word cell to the biological world, as the walls of living cells reminded him of monks' separate quarters. His myriad discoveries and precise illustrations were reproduced in his Micrographia, the first best-selling book on a scientific topic. Hooke and his contemporaries brought into focus many powerful discoveries too small or distant to see with the naked eye. The explorer takes tool in hand to investigate the world for study and manipulation. Thoughtful decisions and clear perceptions are the powers gathered, and begin with these steps. Use your tools, open your mind, and explore a new, enchanting world. The hero as an explorer, a seeker whose initial curiosity about the world opens a gateway to scientific inquiry. I'm like starving now. There are no guides on this trip, but be mindful. Sometimes I can hopefully get us to not just floating. There's a point eventually. If you can find your own point, that's when you utilize your own intuition, discernment, guidance, wisdom, everything you bring to the table. Make it specific for you. This is general, right? You don't have to take my tracker, trainer, whatever. So, oof, I'm hungry. Aww. Same. And maybe that's the beautiful thing about when they are abstract like this, is that it's not just like, I feel like I engage a little more. I was already engaged a little bit more today. It depends. I don't know. I really need it. I'm starting to get warm and hungry. This is taking too much energy. Give me something simple and straightforward. I'm kidding. What's interesting about this riddle is like because it's the explorer, I thought that it would, but that's why it's a riddle. That's why it's not a question. And Uranus rules Aquarius. Like, why? I don't understand. That's one of those like astrology things that I don't really get. It's like Uranus is this planet of like revolution. Like it's the revolutionary, it's the visionary, it's like out of the box. And even in the characterization of Aquarius, because Aquarius is characterized as much of the same, but it's attributed to a fixed modality. And it's like, what about Uranus or what about Aquarius is fixed? Like in a stubborn way, in a committed to the vision way? I guess, yeah, okay. And it's air. Air isn't necessarily a fixed element like Earth is. Maybe that's the riddle. Um, because Aquarius in a fixed mind, yes. Aquarius in a set perception, of course. And maybe it's not mutually exclusive. Or maybe that's the power of a fixed mind that is set in a radical direction. Because if it were a mutable mind, then it would be likely to change. And then whatever is revolutionary or peculiar or idiosyncratic about Aquarius would be lost because it would conform rather than standing true and holding fast to whatever that thing is. I think sometimes though it makes me think of the cryptic crosswords. If you've never done a cryptic crossword, it is a beast of its own making. It's literally riddles. It's riddles for a crossword puzzle rather than facts. The cryptic crossword is the riddle for the question of crosswords. Um, Hence the cryptic part. But sometimes with the cryptic crossword, it's like this micro, like dissecting the riddle is actually helpful. It's like you dissect it in parts, but you apply creative thinking to each part to arrive at. Because like it made me think of the answer was visual, but it was like six before part of usual or something like that. And the six in the riddle was the VI in visual because six in Roman numerals is VI. And that is like it comes before SUAL. So usual is like USUAL, but it's part of usual. So you cut out the U from usual and then you put the VI from the Roman numeral six there to get the answer. So that's like it's one of those where it is like because I think at first it's like, well, if you get into the nitty gritty fine detail, doesn't that defeat the purpose of it? Because it was like the riddle was like logic does not apply here. But in his own entry, it also mentioned like, yes, he looked at the microscopic, but there was also an element of like a whole bunch of stuff. The cryptic mystic, you should take it. Ooh, just I'm like, and I do love I love a riddle, you know. I guess shout out to Casey. I haven't seen Casey in a hot minute. Casey's a Gemini who loves riddles. Yeah, and I'm hungry. All right, I'm gonna do one more because Uranus just broke my brain. So there's the first one. The first one is Uranus with the riddle, and maybe I think that's also like because Uranus has been in Taurus, and maybe Uranus has been in Taurus while at the same time the North Node was transiting Taurus as the South Node was transiting Scorpio, as the nodes do. They oppose like always. And so it's interesting that I can't remember when Uranus shifted into Taurus. Google right here at my fingertips. Uranus in Taurus. Dates 2018 to 2019. So it looks like it retrograded back into Aries from November to March. Since March, so from March of 2019, according to Google, to July of 2025. And then it's going to retrograde back into Taurus from November 2025 to April 2026. So yeah, basically Uranus was in Taurus before 2020. Uranus moved firmly into Taurus in 2019, and that's when some of like end of 2019 is when lockdowns and stuff started happening in other parts of the world. It hit the US in 2020. So I was going to be like, it'd be interesting if Uranus has been in Taurus since then, because it's like in the beginning a lot of us were forced to be in our homes and to be in the presence of the people that we share a home with. And it's been like these opportunities to, under a pressure cooker, like live in, be with, and to be surrounded by circumstances more permanently, whereas in other times they're more temporary. If you go to work for 8 hours and if you sleep for 8 hours, there's only 8 hours left in the day to spend like actually living in your home. But now without that 8 hours of work, assuming you're still sleeping that 8 hours, you've doubled the amount of time that you spend in that space and with those people. So it might start to emphasize certain things that without that permanency, it's like whatever. And then it's like everything stopped. And then there was that rush to get back to normal. But there's that opportunity to analyze almost under a microscope, find details about not only the homes that we have, but sort of like hierophant structures and systems and organizations sort of overall in general. And that's what we've been doing since then. And it's given us opportunity to ask questions about, and some of those questions we always ask, especially when it comes to governance and politics. But it's also empowered us in some ways to mobilize and to come together as a collective, and for a lot of companies to unionize and to demand better for us as people, rather than to just sort of submit ourselves to the companies, corporations, businesses, governments, and everything. And again, like government and politics is one of those areas where there's always been like voices, you know what I mean? But like when it comes to us, just like this is how the world is in terms of like what you got to do for work and how like you're treated at work and how you're valued or not valued at work. And now, there have been laws that it's like raising minimum wage, or like minimum wages has been increasing to meet and match everything else that's going up. And then of course, there's that argument well, if you raise minimum wage, then everything else is going to go up and blah, blah, blah. And not to say blah, 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 like flippantly, but like blah, blah, blah is in like, girl, I don't know. That's the want to me. But it's like, then you'll hear about people that were like, well, back in my day, I worked at the grocery store and I was able to have a home and feed my family. And it's like, well, if it worked at some point where people can have one job and have a home and a family, and now all of a sudden, oh, that's not possible, and everything else is like, I don't know. It sounds like somebody's, anyway. Now the node is about to shift from Taurus to Aries while Uranus is still in Taurus. And if Uranus firmly moves into Gemini in 2026, and it's 2023 now, that might be North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. I don't know if it's going to be the tail end of Aries Libra, or if it's going to be I guess it moves in 2025 and then it retrogrades. So it's probably going to catch Aries, Libra, and then Pisces, Virgo, which is just interesting anyway. You'll just do one card reading? Oh, yeah, see. I should just do, I guess this is 3 1 cards. So anyway, somehow that felt like it was tied to Uranus and Taurus. And then depending on what we do with our findings and with our information, as the nodes shift into Aries, Libra, it's almost like Uranus in Taurus with the North Node being in Taurus is
ripe for a lot of dissatisfaction in life, and it's ripe for reaching a boiling point with a lot of stuff, to the point where it's like, all right, like, let's actually start to look at this. Let's actually start to see if there aren't any better ways that we can go about doing whatever, because this sucks, to the point that we're not going to tolerate it anymore. And then North Node Aries is like, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? And then South Node and Libra is like, and how is it going to affect other people? Like, most importantly, what are you going to do about it? But, also be mindful of how it affects other people. Because it's been a long time of shuffling pieces on the board, and it's relatively more or less sucky for some people, but overall, in a more global sort of context, as I guess Pluto is transiting Capricorn Aquarius, in a more global context and not just for you in particular. How do we make this better? Anyway, next round and final round at 125.45. Because your boy needs some food. I'm so hungry. I'm not even your girl right now. I'm your boy. Your boy needs some food. Because your girl is starving. I use girl as a gender neutral pronoun, question mark. Yeah, I guess. Instead of he or she or they, I'd be like, well, no, because I still use she. What is girl? But if I use girl to refer to people, does that not make girl a pronoun? Is a pronoun not something that refers to a noun? I don't know grammar. Sublimatio, sublimation. Now, sublimation is when something goes from a solid directly to a gas. It bypasses the liquid phase. But for some reason, my immediate whatever with the sublimation is to make something sublime. And is that not part of the definition of sublime then, in a way? Hey, Google, define sublime.
Here's the definition of sublime: of such excellence, grandeur, or beauty as to inspire great admiration or awe.
Yeah. That's how it's reading today. But it's like, again, it's like it inspires so much that it's like it takes you there. It's like, instead of it being this long, drawn out journey from solid to liquid to gas, it's like, boom, you're just instantly there. And that's what's so sublime about sublimation. The archetype is the starborn. Now, if the star nursery is still here, the starborn with the sublimation, and we have the storyteller of swords, Ernst Haeckel. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The storyteller of swords. So what was sublime about this from Uranus and the riddle? Like, we go from the page to the queen, and the queen and the king sit sort of at the same. We bypass the knight. And what's actually kind of crazy is, like, the Knight of Swords is one of the quickest knights, competing only with the Knight of Wands, if there is a competition, because sometimes one of them is way faster than the other. But I guess the speed of thought is faster than, if not as fast as light. It's quick. The Knight of Swords is already fast, and we're bypassing that. It's like we just broke the speed of light, basically. The speed of sound's been broken. That's like Mach 1 or Mach 2, or the Machs. And Mach is like the speed of sound when it breaks the speed of sound. The speed of light is even faster because, it takes light a lot less time to be seen than it takes for a sound to be heard. And both of them, especially if you're relatively close, are pretty insanely fast. Like, what's the delay in me saying a word and you hearing it if we're standing next to each other? But anyway, I'm going to read these backwards. So, the storyteller of swords from the explorer. I guess that makes sense, though. From the explorer to the storyteller, because it would be the explorer that has stories to tell. And the thing about Robert Hooke is that he made the first science book that was a bestseller. If you're going to listen to somebody tell stories, it's probably the stories of the explorer that you want to hear, not the person that's living the life that you live. It's like, oh, I went to the grocery store on Tuesday and bought ramen noodles too. Oh my gosh. Well, we do like to hear stories that we can relate to at the same time. But, speaking of superheroes and high fantasy, those are the big bucks, Marvel. So, artist and biologist Ernst Haeckel remains widely known today for his many books of intricate illustrations in the realm of animal, plant, and microscopic life. In his lifetime, his work helped explain Darwin's theories to the general public. His perceptive and wide-ranging analysis mapped a genealogical tree of Earth's life forms, dividing and defining living organisms according to species, genus, family, and order. His drive to observe, categorize, and communicate his findings about the world's species created a wellspring of practical knowledge. Even as the world is divided into sections and categories, a storyteller gathers strength and wisdom to achieve a common purpose. While you may be tempted to let emotion dictate your actions, the situation may require direct observation and intellectual investigation instead. The Starborn, number 3. The divine child, the star child, the destined. An elusive yet radiant aspect of the self, the starborn archetype points to the cosmic spark of light that arrives with each being at birth. The moment the newborn crowns, whether vaginally or surgically, the royal stars above are said to constellate in a unique shape that maps our path in the world. The idea of destiny is controversial, yet the starborn naturally feels a sense of destination and purpose, aiming itself toward a future that is beyond the mundane. When this card appears, travel back to your birth story for clues and insight. What did you desire when you were young? Practice seeing your life from a mythic point of view rather than as a series of logistics. And this is coming out under the riddle. Read the story of the 3 fates and envision yourself born under the stars with a unique destiny. All this unique, talking about Uranus and idiosyncrasy. Sublimation, what is that? I think it's chop suey. Sublimation, something. I don't know the words. It might not even be chop suey. This is 67, right? LXVII, yeah, 67. Oh, I was like, hello? LXVII, sublimatio, sublimation, elevation, rising, and flight. Sublimatio is the great alchemical operation of air. Uranus, the fool, air. Cool. It occurs when there is enough heat to change a solid substance into a gas, causing it to rise up, and away. Therefore, when sublimation is present, there is an aspect of celebrated elevation, of ascending above and gaining a greater perspective. Birds in flight, mountain peaks, ladders, and balloons are all sublimatio images. As with all the operations, sublimatio has a shadow potential. Through ascension, there is a risk of separating from others, of sensing oneself higher or above. This risk is particularly great in spiritual traditions that offer a linear model of achievement. The divine alchemist rises humbly and supports the upliftment of others, always in touch with the cycle of humanity. Service is the natural balancing agent for sublimatio. It may be the next rung on your ladder. And I'm going to get one more because it feels like it's building somewhere. So I'm just going to read the cards. We have, this card was actually under summer. Oh, I was going to mention summer because it said it has enough heat to move something from solid to gas. And there's a lot of heat in summer typically. It's the hottest typically. And that was at the bottom of the deck when the temple was at the bottom of the deck. Summer came out. The temple and summer temple came out. Summer was at the bottom of the deck. And they had very similar colors. The new pearl, Margarita Preciosa. Or Preciosa, because I love a hard C in Latin. The unseen. And the Explorer of Wands, Caroline Herschel. Ooh, okay. Now we have looking at the stars with this new pearl and the unseen. I mean, we've risen above Earth, maybe made it up into the middle of nowhere with Uranus. Again, I'm just going to read these, and you can take these as they resonate. These will be the final cards, and then I'm going to go get something to eat and call my mother and get my day started because I need to do those things, and I'm starving. Horus, what? I'm still waiting for Geb. I'm kidding. Everlong Mystic has uploaded Horus. Why did I pull my phone out? So the new pearl, number 44. Is this number 44? XL40. The 10 before the 50. And then the 1 before the 5. 44. We're going to end it on that number. Wait, XLIV. There we go. No. Yeah, XLIV, not XLV. That's like the 5th time I've passed over this. Margarita Preciosa, the new pearl. This is grit, irritation, and waiting. The new pearl is one of the great promises of alchemy. From a single grain of sand, the pearl forms slowly but surely in the salty mouth of the oyster. The new pearl emerges as an alchemical miracle, a sight unimaginable at the outset. That said, the process is generated from irritation itself. Such is the medicine of the new pearl card. The work is underway, but the gem has not yet formed. Don't become petty and hasty, seeking a return on your efforts. Rather, turn to patience, consistency, and humility to remedy the discomfort. Let the magic of time and salt water do its work. Relax, believe, and support a fellow alchemist in finding the grit that will become their pearl. Don't worry about you right now. The entire ocean is your ally. And then number 27, which is the unseen. The spirit, the ancestor, the eternal. The unseen is just as it sounds. We cannot see it, yet it sees us, watching and waiting with wisdom, both kind and instructive. We feel this presence, sense it, intuit it, and then doubt its existence, though it rallies our intention time and time again. The energy of the unseen may come in many forms: a compelling dream, a sudden insight, a clear voice, a vision, or a message from a loved one who has passed to the other side. It is natural to fear these communications as they challenge our perception of what is real. When this card appears, your guides are near. The eternal is present. The doorway between worlds is ajar. Listen. The sounds may seem as though they come from a distant land, but they call from your innermost chambers. And the explorer, of wands. Swords, pentacles, wands. The explorer of wands, Caroline Herschel, was a 19th century astronomer who made several extraordinary discoveries of comets, despite being thwarted from joining the formal scientific community because she was a woman. Her fascination with the night sky led her to perform extensive research into comets, nebulae, and other astronomical phenomena, ultimately winning her unprecedented recognition from the political and scientific authorities of her time. Caroline Herschel was driven by a passion for discovery. Setbacks and difficulties are to be expected, but ultimately the explorer grows stronger as these obstacles are sidestepped, challenged, or overcome. The crucial step is to produce creative, personally fulfilling work now and remain confident that future success will follow. I think the new pearl, that's literally the new pearl. Literally, the new pearl talked about the grit to overcome challenges and obstacles, and that the challenge in the new pearl is doing the work now, even though the reward isn't going to come for who knows how long. So, Zanoni Snowflake, oh snap, hi. Just as I'm about to end it, but thank you for coming in regardless. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're all acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. Yeah, by the end of it, this was pretty like it was not conclusive, but concise, I guess. It tied itself together in a neat little bow, and I didn't have to worry about how much sense it was not making or how difficult it was to find the sense that was trying to be made. But that's part of the riddle, you know? Don't be so logical and then you just keep going, and eventually at some point you find the answer. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and what you find, I hope that in those times where it's time to do the work and the reward won't come for some time, that there's some comfort, at least, that you can find, or that your faith or your intuition is bolstered to know that, you know, the time will come and you will see why it was important for you to do whatever it was for you to do. Maybe with the sublimatio, things move so quickly because of everything that's put in on the foreground. I don't know. Anyway, it was nice seeing you all. And until next time, I hope that you can stay fed. And whatever else you need, I hope that you get that too.